creepy customer followed me home one day after work. Don't do that.
Yeah.
My stalker ran me out of a job and then continued to stalk me at my house. All of these people are not well.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Delve Deck Stories. Today we have some stories about stalkers and creepy strangers. Our first story comes from Brianna, and it is, what's the creepiest encounter you've had with a stranger, from our original deck? Creepy customer followed me home one day after work. Don't do that.
Yeah. The employees are not your friends. Unless they actually are your friends, you're just visiting them. But they're usually not your friends.
Yeah.
So don't follow them. Don't stalk them.
Especially in customer service, like, they have to be nice to you.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I worked as a cashier at Walmart. We had our fair share of odd customers, but for the most part, it was fine. Then this older guy, Kevin, started coming into the store. I knew his name was Kevin because he made a point to introduce himself to me the first time I rang him up, as he creepily stared at my name tag / chest.
I was going to say, it wasn't the name tag, it was the boobs.
I know. I feel like it's usually older men, too, when I've worked in retail, like, who are just like, Tess, right? And you're like, you are not looking at my... Like,
how many times do you need to look at my name to understand that's what my name is? You're like, I'm sorry, I need a second. Tess.
Did I read that correctly?
God, today I'm just really slow.
I worked part-time on Sundays and Wednesdays, and Kevin quickly learned my schedule. He would be there every day and made a point to go through my lane. Even if another cashier was open, he would let people go ahead of him and would wait. I was pretty creeped out by Kevin because he would frequently make comments about how beautiful my skin and hair was and how he knew I would someday make healthy children.
Nope. This is another one of those creeps that's like, I'm just looking for a woman to be my earthen vessel.
Yeah.
It's like, just go.
Yeah. He often told me he was looking for a woman like me, but women his own age were too bitter and didn't have my youthful energy.
Were they bitter or were they just annoyed and creeped out?
Yeah. However, I was still at work, so I smiled and was friendly to him despite wanting to puke every time he spoke to me. This is the thing. They're trapped.
Yeah.
They're trapped and they're forced to be nice to you. Then one afternoon, I was on my lunch break. I always ate in my car because any minute of freedom away from the store was worth it. That day, I was studying for a test and eating my sandwich when I heard a knock on my passenger window. I jumped and looked over. There was Kevin, smiling and waving at me. I awkwardly smiled and waved back, and he made a motion like, roll down your window. Not wanting to make him angry or cause a scene, I cracked my window and was like, hi, do you need something? I'm on my lunch break, but I'm sure someone inside could help you. No, I just wanted to say hi to the prettiest girl in the parking lot, he said back. What a line.
Wow.
In the parking lot.
So just, man, the Riz is just dripping off this guy.
Oh my God, in this parking lot? I feel flattered. I just kind of awkwardly laughed and was like, okay, well, I'm really busy. Bye. The next day I was working, Kevin came through my line, but was being even weirder than usual. I've noticed you take your break in your car every day, he said. So the creep had been watching me before tapping on my window. Great. Oh, yeah, just like to get out of the store for a bit, I responded. Then, as he was about to pay, he was like, by the way, I got an extra key made for my house. I figured I'd give it to you. I live really close by, so you could come over and take your break there. A pretty girl like you shouldn't be eating in her car.
Nope, no. This is one of those things where it's like, oh, I made you an extra key, and you'll never be able to leave. You can get in, but you can't get out.
Nobody wants to come to your house.
Yeah.
Internally, I was like, WTF, ew, gross. But I politely said,
WTF, ew, gross.
Yeah. I like eating in my car, thanks though. Then he started getting insistent and was saying things like, I have a pool. Wouldn't you rather be eating by a pool? I can make you food. I'm an amazing cook. I could give you a massage too. That would be a good way to relax after working so hard here.
It's dudes like this that give men a really bad name.
Yeah, exactly. If you are a man and you're like, oh, why are women so angry at men? It's because of these guys. Be mad at them. I didn't know what to say and finally was like, I'll think about it. He left the key, and after he left, I threw it away.
I would have given the key to some random person and be like, hey, meet me here at 6.
Meet me here and just see what happens.
Also, did he give her the address? He's like, here's a key, but you gotta find where it is.
Just try every house in the neighborhood. I continued eating in my car as usual and noticed that Kevin was getting less and less friendly with every passing day. Finally, one day he was like, if you aren't ever going to come over, then I want my key back. I froze. Oh, I think I lost it. I'm sorry. He just kind of stared at me and said nothing, but I could tell that he was furious. I completed the transaction in silence. When he left, I had this intense feeling that he was about to do something crazy. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
My shift that day ended at 10 p.m. I went to my car, honestly kind of expecting it to be trashed, but luckily everything was fine. I started driving home, and after a while, I noticed the car behind me was driving very close and taking all the same turns. I tried to tell myself I was just imagining things, but just to be safe, I started driving more unpredictably, not turning on my blinker before I turned, changing lanes erratically, but the car stayed glued behind me. Now I was getting really scared. I called my dad for help. We didn't live in the same state, so there was not much he could do, but I was positive I was being stalked by a murderer, and I was really scared. My dad was obviously really freaked out too, and told me to stay on the phone with him and to drive to the nearest police station. I did what he said and pulled into the parking lot. The car followed behind me and pulled up next to me. I glanced over and saw fucking Kevin driving the car.
The fact that he even pulled into the parking lot of the police station and pulled up next to her and was like...
like, you are unwell.
Yeah. Also, not smart. You literally followed her to the place that could arrest you for stalking her.
Yeah. He was crying and rolled down his passenger window. I told my dad to stay on the phone and cracked my window as well. Are you dating a cop? Is that why you're here? You told me you were single, Kevin yelled. What?
Bro, you need therapy.
You need so much help. I was like, why are you following me? You fucking scared me. I wasn't at work anymore, so I didn't care about being nice. I'm in love with you, Brianna. Can you not see that? How can you reject me like this after everything I've done for you? Rang him up at the store.
All those goddamn transactions.
Yeah, you helped me buy my groceries and random toiletries. He was bawling at this point and kept blubbering about how much he loved me. I finally was like, if you don't leave right now, I'm going in there and telling them you're stalking me. It took me screaming this multiple times at him, but he finally turned his car around and left. I feel like you should have just gone, just get him arrested.
Yeah. I was like, follow me into the police station right now.
Yeah, come meet my boyfriend.
Yeah, can we go look at the chloroform and the bandages and the rope in the car?
The next day I worked, I told my managers I needed to change my days and also told them what Kevin had done. Luckily, they understood and said if he came into the store again, they would handle it. I didn't see the guy ever again, thank God. Apparently, he tried coming in once, but was told he was no longer welcome in the store. I was told he took it surprisingly well. Luckily, I don't think he was a dangerous creep, just a delusional one, but it was still really scary to deal with. He may have been dangerous. I'm not convinced he wasn't dangerous.
Yeah, that's the thing. When someone's like, oh, he wasn't a dangerous one, it's like, yet. Like,
He
what was
had
going to
the
happen if she didn't go to the
ability.
police station? Everyone has the capability of doing it, you know, of taking it to the next step. And if there's a guy that is like emotionally unstable, crying about the fact that he's like, oh, you're dating a cop, you said you were single all those times I was in the store, I thought you loved me. Like, that's a guy who at any moment is gonna snap and will do something crazy, like tie you up and throw you in the basement and never let you out again.
Yeah, can't trust this. Our next story is from Lily. What's the creepiest encounter you've had with a stranger? From our original deck. A foot fetishist snuck into my college dorm building and tried to buy my socks.
Sounds like a business.
Yeah. Sounds like an opportunity. It was my first week at school, and I was in my room when someone knocked at my door. I opened it, and a guy was there who I swear I'd never seen before, but he was like, "Hey, we met at freshman orientation. I just wanted to come by and say hi." I was like, "Okay, sorry, I don't remember." He goes, "Yeah, we definitely met. I'm living in Thurston. Why are you in this dorm?" Thurston was the freshman dorm building around the corner. Most of the freshmen lived there, but I'd chosen a singles dorm since I wasn't all that into the idea of roommates if I could avoid it. I said, "I just like my alone time." He said, "Well, maybe you want some company? I've been thinking about you since orientation." I got a sinking feeling like this was more than just a friendly hello and replied, I actually have some homework I have to get back to." He goes, "I noticed you have really cute little feet. I was wondering if I could kiss them." Dude, she does not know you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta at least be like going on a few dates with somebody before you get to ask if you can kiss their feet.
Yeah.
Completely taken aback, I stammered, no thank you." He goes, "Could I have your socks then? I could pay you. I have $20, just one sock maybe?" He pulled a bill out of his pocket and waved it at me. I say take the money.
I mean, honestly, they're like, how much you got?
More than that, yeah. Just see how high he'll go.
How much you got in the checking
Counter.
account?
I was so stunned, I didn't even know what to say. I was like, I don't want to give you my socks. I gotta go, and closed the door. I was thoroughly creeped out. He knocked some more and was talking at me through the door. "I'm not weird. I just like feet. What size shoe do you wear? What if I give you $50? You could buy so many socks with $50. It's not that she is going to miss her socks.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
Also, it's like, oh, what size shoe are you? Oh, how many? Oh, here's $50. Oh, God, I can buy so many socks that you could dirty up and give to me.
Go away. But also,
I mean, 2020 hindsight, I would definitely continue to take this guy's money.
yeah. Then I heard someone else in the hall go, "What are you doing?" And I heard him say, "Nothing." Whoever was talking to him goes, "Do you live on this floor?" And then the voices got muffled like they were walking away. I did not see Foot Guy after that since it was a pretty big school, but it remains one of the creepier conversations I've had with a stranger. Yep, that's pretty weird.
Yeah. Why do men just think that they can do whatever they want?
Yeah.
You know? I'm sorry. I just want to apologize.
Dave apologizes on behalf of all men
Just like
for their weird feet things.
Get the signal, understand how to read social cues.
Just also wait until you're in the appropriate situation to ask for somebody's socks, or go online and find somebody who is selling their socks.
Yeah.
There's people who do that. You can find them.
Mm-hmm.
Our next story is from Maya. What is something you're still angry about? From our original deck. My stalker ran me out of a job and then continued to stalk me at my house. All of these people, just don't do that. That's going to be the theme of the
lesson
episode.
today is do not do this.
My first job in high school was as a hostess at TGI Fridays. It was my job to welcome guests and seat them, clear tables, that sort of thing. A few weeks into the job, I noticed the same guy kept coming in and just ordering coffee all night. He introduced himself as Ryan and tried to chat me up every time he came in, but his vibe felt off-putting and I could tell he was quite a bit older than me. Not old, maybe mid-20s, but I was 17 at the time. Every time he came in, he'd try to flirt with me and then ask me out. I told him I had a boyfriend and that I didn't like to go out with people from work anyway. I also told him I was only 17. He ignored this and told me I seemed mature for my age. I don't know where he was getting this. He didn't really know me. They never do.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, "Oh, you seem like this type of girl." And it's like, you have interacted with me at work.
Well, they have one interaction, or maybe they imagine an interaction and then they create this whole persona and be like, because she did this one thing, then she's like this. And it's like, no, you didn't read it right.
Despite my clear statement that I didn't want to go out, Ryan kept coming in during my shift to watch me, and it really started getting to me. When I complained to my manager, he was like, "He is allowed to come in here and have coffee." I started getting coworkers to walk me to my car after work. The guy hadn't tried to attack me, but seeing him watch me every shift made me feel anxious. It didn't take long for me to get fed up with all this, so I left the hostess gig for a lower paying job at a movie theater in another part of town, thinking that would be the end of it. Oh no. A few days after I left my TGI Fridays job, he called my house. What? This is the late 1990s, so we still had a landline. When my mom picked up, he told her he was a classmate calling about a homework assignment. I feel like, okay, I know there's like white pages, yellow pages or whatever, but I feel like you still have to know like a person's last name.
First name is on the name tag. Unless for whatever reason the last name's there. And when the bill comes, the first name's on there in terms of the receipt. Sounds like this guy might have done something illegal to find the information to then contact.
Yes.
Like maybe he stole the files in the office.
Whoa.
Because how else would he know the last name?
Yeah, it's very weird. When I got on the line, he said, "Why haven't you been at work?" Bro. I was like, "Who is this?" And he goes, "It's me, Ryan. I miss you."
I'd be like, sorry, Ryan who?
Yeah. Stop getting obsessed with people who work in customer service. They don't like you.
Yeah.
I asked where he got my number, and he just chuckled and said, "I have my ways." Ew.
He somehow got into the office.
Yeah.
I feel like he got into the records and was able to look you up that way.
I told him I no longer work at TGI Fridays and asked him to please leave me alone and hung up. I called the restaurant and asked an ex-coworker if it was possible someone there had given Ryan my number. She said she hadn't, but maybe someone else had. Like it was no big deal. That's pretty messed up if a coworker was like, "Yeah, here's her number."
Yeah.
Like nobody wants that.
Social engineering wise, like people can be manipulated with a simple, they're like, "Oh, I'm so-and-so and I'm looking for her for this reason. Do you have her number?" And you'd be surprised how many people are like, "Oh yeah, let me just get it right." You know?
The next day, Ryan called again. This time, he told me he'd seen me earlier and described what I'd been wearing that day. This is not the way to get somebody to want to date you.
Yeah.
He was definitely lurking around somewhere, but I couldn't figure out where. It was hard to imagine he'd gotten onto the high school grounds, and I hadn't been anywhere all day except school and home. I told him again to please stop calling me and hung up. He kept calling, but I just let the phone ring. I thought he'd get tired of being ignored and give up, but he didn't. He called me again a few days later, this time pretending to be someone from my new job when my mom answered. When I picked up, he goes, "Don't hang up, don't hang up. I'm really high right now, and I don't think I can live without you. If you don't come see me, I am going to kill myself."
All right, whatever. I mean, like, look, I know it's a serious topic, but people who are stalking and obsessively tormenting somebody, especially a girl who's in high school,
like you're so obvious. Like all of these people are not well.
Yeah. I don't know if you actually will, if you're looking for attention, but also it's like, why is that my problem?
Go get help. I hung up. I told my mom some guy from my old job was actually the one calling, and that if anyone else called trying to talk to me, that I wanted her to tell them I wasn't home. I thought this would be the end of it, but a few days later, some girl called my house asking for me, and my mom gave me the phone. I was like, "Are you sure it's not him?" And my mom said, "It's not him. It's some girl named Tara."
You use like some voice change or something?
Or just like roped in some chick to...
His other victim?
When I picked up, it was of course him again. What? Okay. He was angry now, yelling at me about how I was a bad person and didn't care if I caused his death. I hung up again. I spent the last couple months of my senior year refusing to use the phone and barely leaving the house, wondering if he was around and trying to watch me. This is traumatizing.
Like now she's got some phobia, right? Where she doesn't want to go outside.
Like hang out because you're following her, you fucking weirdo. I told my friends if they wanted to talk to me, I'd have to call them because of the situation. Ryan continued to call my house off and on until I left for college. In hindsight, I wish I'd pressed my parents for more help and made a bigger deal of it. Tried to press charges or something. At the time, everyone around me was downplaying his behavior and acting like this was just a normal thing guys do and not to worry about it. Even my own parents. I feel like that's the other thing. This was, what, the 90s we're saying? I feel like for the longest time, I mean, if you talk to like any of your grandparents and you're like, how'd you guys meet? It's like, Grandpa stalked me.
Yeah.
And then I finally gave in, and now we're married.
He really
50
broke
years.
me down.
Yeah.
Do the opposite of this stuff to be any sort of normal functioning man in society. If a woman wants you to be around her, she'll let you know.
She will let you be around her.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't want you around her, then leave her alone. The harassment only ended when I finally moved 1,000 miles away for school. Not sure if that's because I became inconvenient to follow around or if he just moved on to another target. It was definitely because he just didn't know where you were.
Yeah.
Good thing there were no cell phones because all he had was your parents' number.
Yeah.
So obviously you can block a number on a cell phone, but they can find ways around that. So our next story is from Marie. It's what's the creepiest encounter you've had with a stranger from our original deck. A guy chased me for several city blocks, screaming at me to get in his pocket. Okay.
I think we know the lesson here again is don't do that.
Don't do that. I was working in DuPont Circle in Washington, D.C. and had just come out of the metro station when I noticed a large man in a long trench coat was following closely behind me. If you're gonna be a creep, don't wear a trench coat.
Yeah.
Then everyone knows you're a creep. I picked up my pace and crossed the street, but he followed me and I heard him say, "Hey you, red backpack, where are you going?" He was definitely talking to me. I ignored him and kept walking, going as fast as I could without running. I'd had crazies say weird things to me on the street plenty of times, but most just go away after a few seconds of being ignored. Not this guy. He kept following and yelled, "You're so cute and tiny. I bet you could fit in my pocket."
All right. Is this guy giant?
I know.
Like, who says that?
He is a giant. This reminds me of my favorite weird thing somebody has yelled at me on the street once was like, "Damn, girl, you're so tall. I bet you're taller than a rhinoceros." And I was like, "What do you mean?"
What?
I was like,
how did they... Rhinoceros? Where did he come up with... Like... When you want to do something tall like a giraffe, like isn't that the whole...
He went with rhinoceros, and I was just kind of like it actually made me stop and look. I was like,
I'm sorry. How does that? They don't.
I was like, I don't think so. Maybe I don't know how tall they are, but it was a weird one. Anyway,
People are weird, man.
Now, I am a small woman at 4'11" and just shy of 100 pounds, but I probably could not fit in a pocket unless he's a giant.
Yeah.
He did have a trench coat, maybe very big pockets.
Maybe just like the inside is one big pocket.
Yeah, but I probably could not fit in a pocket, nor would I like to try. I started to run, but he was running after me. I'm sorry. Running is crazy. If somebody starts to run away from you, don't run after them. That's so weird.
Also, I would hope that if someone was in the crowd, like in the public, they would be like, "Oh, look, there's a small woman being chased by a very large man
in a trench coat.
This doesn't look at all threatening."
I started to run, but he was running after me, shouting, Miss, get in my pocket. Get in my pocket." Okay. Obviously, just like, he's nuts. I don't know. I was full on sprinting to my office to get away from this man now. I don't, you shouldn't have to run to work.
Yeah, or the fact that, again, nobody around was like, "Hey, this doesn't look too good."
Yeah, weaving between people who seem totally oblivious to my situation. The nice thing about being in a city is that, everybody ignores you, but also the bad part is, they're probably just I don't know.
I understand, no one wants to be the hero because they don't want to put their lives at risk. It's like a security guard who works at Walgreens and, people steal stuff. They're like, "Psh, I am not paid my hourly wage to stop someone who has a knife," or whatever it might be, right? But I could also see people who are in public who would be like, "I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to get involved.
I don't have time for this."
Yeah.
It was probably 8:30 in the morning. The street was busy and it was broad daylight, but no one seemed to notice this maniac chasing me through a busy city neighborhood, yelling at me to get in his pocket. I got to my building a few paces ahead of him, swiped my key card, and hurried over to the elevator. He pounded on the locked glass door, still yelling at me to get in his pocket when I got on the elevator. I've lived in cities all my adult life, and it was definitely one of the most harrowing experiences I've had with a crazy person on the street. I've been followed by concerning people on the street, but usually they give up after about a block.
Mm-hmm. No one's like full on sprinting after you.
Yeah, I think if I started, but maybe he's like, yeah, this is what I wanted.
Miss, you're as fast as a rhino. I don't know.
Our final story comes from Daniel, and it is describe the most annoying neighbor you've ever had from our original deck.
I have some of my own.
Yeah. Our neighbor became weirdly obsessed with my wife. Don't do that. My wife, Amanda, is a consultant, and her job used to have us traveling to different cities in the U.S. She usually had to be there for a few months, so we'd stay in long-term rentals. She started working with a client in Portland in 2015 who was going to need her on site for 6 months. So we found an Airbnb in an apartment complex nearby. When we first arrived and were bringing our bags in, we noticed the older woman in the apartment next to ours staring at us through her window. Amanda waved, and the woman quickly shut her curtains. But over the next week, we saw her looking out her window at us whenever we came home or left. If we tried to wave or smile, she'd shut her curtains again. While it was a little strange, we figured she'd just like to keep tabs on whoever was staying next to her. Finally, Amanda decided we needed to introduce ourselves. I don't like her watching me all the time. Maybe if we say hi, she'll feel more comfortable and stop, was her reasoning. I'm much more introverted, so I didn't really want to, but I eventually caved. Amanda baked some pumpkin bread, and we went to her door and knocked. No answer. We knew she was there because she was staring out her window when we approached.
I'm not here.
Yeah, she's a ghost, maybe.
That's another option.
So Amanda knocked again. The woman slowly cracked the door and peered at us. Hi, we just wanted to introduce ourselves. We're going to be staying next door for the next few months, Amanda said. The woman slowly opened the door more. Behind her, I could see it was clearly a hoarding situation. She had boxes and random objects piled everywhere. Amanda offered her the pumpkin bread, which she took, and then they started talking. I just wanted to leave, but my wife, the extrovert, spent the next half hour standing in the doorway and learning this woman's name, Patty, about her children. She had 3 who had all moved away, and her ex-husband. He had left her 12 years ago. When we finally escaped, Amanda was confident she'd made a good impression and that Patty would stop watching.
Probably not.
Was less convinced.
I think she's just more interested now.
I think, again, this is a person who is not doing great.
Mm-hmm. In this moment, I feel like it would almost be best to not introduce yourself so there's not that connection or like rapport established, because now this person's like, I have more excuse to do this because, yeah, I'm watching you.
The next day, we were eating dinner and we heard a knock on the door. Amanda answered and there was Patty, holding a plate of cookies. Amanda graciously accepted the cookies and chatted with her some more before coming back inside. The next day, the same situation. Patty knocked on the door and had a lasagna for us. The next day, she brought saltwater taffy, and every time Amanda would take the time to talk to her. Patty was clearly lonely, so Amanda felt bad. I get it, but I was starting to get weirded out. It's a lot every day.
Yeah. I mean, cool, great that you're making me free food, but also it's like, I don't know if I would accept random food from a woman who's hoarding.
Yeah,
you know?
at what point is there poison?
Exactly.
This continued for weeks. Sometimes she brought us decent treats, but other times it was obviously her leftovers from the night before. Ew.
I also think like she can see in, I don't know what part of the apartment, but she's like, oh, it's dinner time. And then she like goes over and she's like,
definitely watching.
She's like, I know, I saw that you were finishing up your main meal. Here's a dessert.
Here's
and you're like,
dessert. Here's the spaghetti I ate last night.
It's even better because the sauce is soaked into the noodles.
Yeah. Also, she hadn't stopped watching us through the window, so what was even the point? Of course not.
Yeah.
Then one night, Amanda was working late, and I was home alone. Right on cue, Patty knocked on the door. Not wanting to deal with it, I ignored her knocks until she stopped. The next few nights were the same. Amanda wasn't home, and I wasn't answering. Until finally, Patty quit trying. That's when the notes started.
I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. But also, chill, dude. You know?
The first one was addressed to Amanda and said how sad she was and how friends don't ignore each other. Amanda was upset with me for hurting Patty's feelings and tried to knock on her door to make amends, but Patty wouldn't answer. Yeah, your wife is being very nice, but too nice.
Yeah.
Too nice. The next morning, another note telling Amanda how selfish she was and that she took advantage of her hospitality. This continued for a few more days until I finally got fed up and left a note of my own, letting Patty know I was the one who had ignored her and that Amanda wasn't at fault and she needed to stop harassing her. The next morning, there was a note for Amanda telling her I wasn't good enough for her and she needed to leave me before I left her.
Leave him for who? For what? Like over to her apartment? She's like, I'll make space. You can lay down in the magazines.
There was also a note for me that just said, go to hell.
Take a hint.
She's not well. Again, these notes continued. There would be a long one for Amanda telling her that she had proof I was cheating on her and that I had a secret family and all sorts of insane stuff. And then a short one telling me to go myself or something. Anytime Amanda tried to knock on her door or get her attention when she creepily watched us from the window, Patty ignored her. But every day we got 2 notes. She is very consistent. She has nothing else to do.
Yeah. I mean, bringing over food, making food, leftovers, writing notes. I guess if you've got nothing going on, sure. But like for me, I'd be like, oh, that's exhausting.
That's a lot of work.
I can barely write a thank you card.
Exactly. Amanda was extremely distressed by all of this and wanted to confront Patty. But after a while, I was able to convince her that it wasn't worth it. We weren't going to be in Portland for long, so we finally decided to end the rental early and go somewhere else. I was honestly so worried Patty was going to follow us and find our new place, but luckily she didn't. I don't think Patty leaves her house.
Yeah, Patty goes down the hallway, around the corner to your spot.
Yeah.
Next door or whatever. I don't think she's going anywhere outside.
No.
Also, what took them so long to leave?
I don't know. Maybe like if there's a fee for canceling. But
dude, they could have honestly just moved to another apartment in the building as an Airbnb, I would imagine, and Patty would have been bye-bye.
Still, one of the weirdest neighbor situations we've ever had. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Which story do you think is the creepiest?
I would say the guy that was stalking the girl who was at TGI Fridays and then left the theater job, that one is the creepiest one to me.
Both of the people who stalked people at their jobs.
Yeah. Keep to yourself. I feel like in like first or second grade, you learn this like, okay, keep your hands to yourself. Don't, boundaries. I feel like as people have gotten older, they've kind of just like forgotten those things.
Yeah.
And it's like, how would you feel if someone that you didn't like was doing that to you,
They can't put themselves in other people's shoes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right, let us know in the comments who you think is the biggest creep. That is it for Delve Deck Stories. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, you can like, comment, subscribe, and check out some of our other videos. And if you have a story you would like to share with us, you can go to share.delvedeck.com and maybe we'll read it on an episode.